I remember my introduction to anatomy on the first week of my first year of medical school. I quickly realised that there was a lot to learn, as in my very first lesson, I was introduced to the names of dozens of anatomical structures and was told I needed to remember every single one of them. It wasn't that much longer after that I realised that these structures were named after words which described them in ancient languages, such as Latin. Despite this meaning that I needed to learn the meaning of several words in other languages, finding out how various parts of the body got their names greatly benefited my understanding of anatomy and helped me retain the names of these structures in my memory. Even those among you who have never had to learn anatomy must have wondered about things like why we call the large muscle in the arm the biceps, or why the organ which stores urine is called the bladder. I'll be doing several videos on the history of the naming of the parts of several organ systems of the body, as well as a single encompassing video which gives a brief history of the entire field of anatomy. But in this video, we'll look in particular at the etymologies of muscles. Early descriptions of what a muscle is appear in the works of the Greek physician Hippocrates from around the 5th century BC. However, a translated reading of his text showed that he used the term flesh to refer to muscles. But it seems that Greek doctors started to use the word muscle not that much longer after the time of Hippocrates. The word muscle literally translates into Latin as little mouse. This name was most likely given because when the biceps muscle contracts, it was said to look like there was a small mouse moving underneath the skin. And regarding muscle movement, Galen's dissections on animals led him to write a piece called On the Motion of Muscles, among his other numerous influential works. He described how muscles contract, a Latin term meaning to draw together. He also spoke about muscles that perform opposite functions to each other, such as flexion and extension, or abduction and adduction. Groups of muscles with the same or opposite functions are known as agonists and antagonists respectively. There's around 650 skeletal muscles in the human body. The actual number is ambiguous because not only are many muscles counted differently in different sources, but also due to the fact that there are some muscles that are present in some people but absent in others. Most of these muscles had been discovered due to the work of Vesalius. Known for doing dissections on humans rather than animals, he published a now famous book on anatomy in 1543, which contained detailed illustrations of the muscular system and was accompanied with a description of the location and function of every single muscle in the body. Some of the names he used for muscles are still in use today, such as the rectus abdominis for the six-pack muscles. But a large majority of his muscle names are rather generic. Vesalius called the biceps muscle the anterior cubitum flectentium musculus, which literally translates to the anterior muscle of those that flex the arm. Future anatomists over the next 300 years like Rieland, Cowper and Henley published their own anatomy books and gave muscles other names that they saw fit. It's only in 1895 that we officially see an international standardization of the names. Generally, we see that the muscles of the body gain their names from either one of four features: their function, appearance, location, or size. An example of several muscles which are named based on their function can be seen on the arm. We have the supinator, the pronator teres, the flexor carpi ulnaris, and the opponens pollicis, among others. Elsewhere in the body, we also have the adductors of the inner thigh, the levator scapula, and the diaphragm, which comes from the ancient Greek word for partition, named so due to its role in acting as a barrier between the thorax and the abdomen. In terms of muscles named for their appearance, we have the deltoid, which means triangular in Latin. On the back there's the trapezius and the rhomboids, named for the resemblance to the four-sided shapes of the trapezium and the rhombus. And perhaps the three most well-known muscles in the entire body are also named based on their appearance. The biceps, triceps and quadriceps muscles all share the same suffix. Ceps is the Latin word for headed, and indeed, the biceps, triceps and quadriceps respectively have 2, 3 and 4 heads, or origins. To make the anatomy even more complicated, In our legs, we also have muscles called the biceps and the triceps within the hamstrings and the calves. Therefore, all of these multiple headed muscles have a second part to the name in order to indicate where in the body they're located. Other muscles named for the location are the pectorals, which come from pectus, meaning breast in Latin, or the sternocleidomastoid, the large muscle on the side of the neck, named so because it attaches to the sternum, clavicle, and the mastoid process. The final category of naming muscles is based on their size. You all probably know about the gluteus maximus, which literally means the largest muscle of the buttock. This name makes sense, as lying beneath this muscle are two smaller muscles called the gluteus medius and the gluteus minimus. Another large muscle is the one on your back, which most people call the lats. Its official name is the latissimus dorsi, which is Latin for the broadest muscle of the back. The longest muscle of the back, which runs all the way down the spine, is the longissimus muscle. Elsewhere in the body, we use the words longus, brevis, major, and minor, among others, to describe the size of muscles. Before we conclude, there's one last muscle to discuss, which fall into none of the naming categories I spoke about. The sartorius is the long strip-like muscle, which sits right on top of the quadriceps muscles. Instead of giving it a name such as longus femoris, it was given a Latin name for tailor, which is sartor. This is because when tailors used to sew, they were often known to sit in a cross-legged position, which was found to cause the sartorius muscle in particular to contract. So to end this video, we can conclude that anatomy is incredibly complex, but it can be simplified by recognizing the systems used to name all the various structures in the body. Pretty much every system in the body have structures which have names deriving from languages like Latin or Greek, which means in essence that learning anatomy is like learning a completely new language.